Yo, what's up, everybody? So we got a +13 Rookery commentary here. So the first pull, I'm gathering the 4-pack to the side and then the middle pack, and we're lusting. This is pretty standard. And then there's 2 casters in here that you have to kick. And then another thing is ranged can actually stand on the stairs up there. Which I don't think the hunter is standing there. I probably am not tanking this close enough. You probably want to tank it closer to the stairs so that your ranged can stand up there and dodge the orb. But yeah, team absolutely blasted this pull. We got a feral druid in here, by the way, which is pretty cool to see. So then we're going to come over and do a double pack to the right. So you don't really want to do more than 2 double pulls in this room, just because there's a lot of casters, a lot of outgoing damage for your healer to take care of, and then obviously you want to take a look at your group's CDs. We actually don't have any CDs for this pull, because we used on that first pull and we smoked it so fast. But we had Link here, so should be fine. The pack's almost dead. But yeah, on higher keys, you're probably going to want to assign kicks, because if a cast goes through in these packs, it really, really hurts. But a 13, you could probably get away with pugging still, just everybody sending their stops and kicks. But yeah, you're not going to want to overlap any stops or kicks on high keys, so it'll be important to have comms when the key gets high enough. So I can see this Void Rider has quite a ways before its next like Thunderstorm AoE, so I'm just going to go ahead and chain. And we're going to kill it off right before it starts. And this 4-pack is pretty easy. I would focus the Rook Tender, because as soon as the Rook Tender, which is the caster, dies, you can just chain into the next pack. I just wouldn't take this into the next pack immediately, just because there's going to be 3 casters. Unless you are in Discord, obviously. But so I'm going to go ahead and chain now. And the Rookery is such a tight timer, being 21 minutes, that you want to chain pull whenever you can in this first area, while also making sure that there's not too many casters in one pack. Keep an eye on your group CDs, see what you can get away with, but you want to try and do this first area as much as possible, because there's only so many places you can make up time in this dungeon, because it's so linear. So I'm just going to fast forward this, because we're going to kill off this pack. And after we kill off this pack, we're going to go to the other side of the room and do this 3-pack alone. In a pug, I would definitely do this 3-pack alone, because there's 3 casters that just chain cast. And on a 13, you might be able to let one of them go through, but if 2 of them ever go through, someone's probably going to die. On like a 15, you probably can't have a single one of these go through. It's just going to be a one-shot. But yeah, as you can see, we're sending our kicks, our stops. Doesn't look like we have anything left right here, so a couple are going to go through. And you can see it only chunks for about 50% HP here. But yeah, if the same person gets targeted twice, they're probably going to still die in a 13, so you want to make sure you're stopping those as much as possible. Now I'm going to pull this 3-pack, and the patrol's kind of in a bad spot, but as soon as the patrol comes over here, I'm going to chain it in. This is one of those packs that you could double up, because there's only going to be 6 mobs and 2 casters. So I'm going to fast forward this here, because there's nothing really to see. We're just dodging and kicking the casters. So yeah, once the storm goes off, I'm going to chain. And there's 2 more casters in this pull. And then the Storm Rook, which does a channel. And I believe once either one of the casters are dead or both, I'm going to chain into the boss. You could probably chain it to the boss a little bit earlier than I did here, because this pack of 4 isn't really that dangerous as long as you're kicking the casters. But you could see the monk died, and I'm going to pause and tell you why. So the reason the monk died here is because these circles around us are going to explode in like 2 seconds with damage, but then at the same time as them exploding, the monk got targeted with this channel. So that's why it's kind of dangerous to pull the boss while this Storm Rook is up. ideally, we should have probably prioritized this Storm Rook and killed it and then pulled the boss. You probably don't want to pull the boss with the Storm Rook up, because if you do have this overlap, which we can see in a second here, boom, the monk takes damage, plus it's getting the channel, monk's dead, that's going to happen. So just wanted to point that out. But yeah, this boss is super scripted, it's probably the easiest boss in this dungeon for sure. All you got to do is dodge the circles on the floor, dodge the beams when they're out, and then you're going to get the circle debuff that explodes around each player that you just have to spread for. So this fight's literally just dodging, and that's pretty much it. There's literally nothing else you do in this entire fight but dodge. So I don't think I'm going to show you guys the whole fight. Yeah, this is another dodge mechanic. You want to spread, and then you just take a little bit of damage. So I'm going to fast forward this for the sake of the commentary. We're going to finish this boss off. So now we're going to jump down and take these feathers. And I think pugs are usually doing this now, but you should be using this like feather jump to get as far as possible on this last drop. As you can see, it's kind of a weird angle here, but you can actually get all the way to the wall here. Just save yourself a few seconds. I'm just waiting for my team, but this next pull is actually quite dangerous. Hopefully your team did not send cooldowns on the boss at the very end, because they should have them for this pull. This is a 7-pack with 2 casters and a huge amount of AoE damage going out. Because yeah, as soon as you can see the AoE damage going out right now, that the suck that guy does pulsing AoE, and then there's 2 Void Bolt casters that need to be kicked. In addition, there's like an arching void curse that goes out that you want to spread for, because if anyone's in that circle, that big circle you just saw, the curse will jump to them. So there's a lot going on here. You want to kick the casters, you want to use defensives, healing cooldowns, and you want to have offensive CDs. So if you're a DPS player, you should not be sending offensive CDs on the first boss in like the last 30%, because you want them for this pull. Alright, next pull. Yeah, I see the healer is low, so I just told him to drink. So we're going to do this 3-pack, and then I'm going to, once I have aggro here, because I see the one guy, I don't have aggro yet. Once I have aggro, I'm going to go ahead and tag in the other mob here, and this is just a 4-pack. This is a 4-pack. There's some AoE from the diffuser when it does the suck, and then the crushers jump to players. So you don't really want to pull anything with this, because there's 3 crushers jumping to players doing damage, plus the AoE. So any more than this and you'll probably wipe, especially on a high key. So we're just going to finish this pack off. It does take a while to kill this pack because the crushers have so much health. So this next pull, I'm going to talk about for a second. Rookery is such a tight timer, you absolutely have to do this next pull. You need to pull this 5-pack here, and then the 2 diffusers in the back. And the reason you lust this is because these oracles do a cast, and the double diffusers obviously do a suck for the group with an AoE, and then there's also a curse going out at the same time. So it's running out of the suck while you're pressing defensive and the healer's doing cooldowns. It's kicking the casters, and it's also spreading when you have the curse. So super hectic pull, but you have to lust this, because if you split up these pulls, you're just going to be losing so much time. So I'm kind of assigning kicks in a pug before we pull this, because I think it's worth 5 seconds of just typing who's kicking what. So I'm going to go ahead and do this and aggro the other 2 guys. We're lusting, and here we go. So the 2 casters right there run away from the suck, and you got to step out of the circle so that the curse doesn't jump to you. Unfortunately, I think everybody was in there, and I think our monk went down. Because yeah, it looks like right here the monk went into that pull with no defensives, which is bad. You probably want a defensive if you're a DPS for this pull, because there's just so much damage going out. So I think that's probably why the monk went down, is he just didn't have any defensives to press. But yeah, once you get the casters killed off, it's fine, because then it's just the AoE and the suck, and then the curse. But when you add that in with kicking 2 casters, it can be a lot. As you can see, I'm not sure if it's the DPS not having defensives. I don't think so, because the hunter has 2. I think it's just the healer potentially wasn't ready for the healing output needed there. But that pull's basically mandatory for time's sake. But yeah, I can see that most of my group is not with us because we had a couple deaths back there. So I'm waiting for them to catch up. So you want to pull both side adds here. Make sure you have aggro before you go into the boss. The last thing you want is to someone to die on those adds as you're pulling boss, and maybe you don't have a B-res like us. So establish aggro, then go into boss with this, and you can just cleave these adds down. Now this boss on high keys lives absolutely forever, but you definitely want to lust the pull before it. Do not lust this boss. It's just a bad use of it. This boss is so scripted. It's more about just executing the mechanics than anything. It has the suck that it does, similar to the diffusers back there, that, you know, there's AoE going out during this. But it's not too bad. You can see it doesn't really do much. You just want to run out of that. And then you want to dodge the crushed reality and the beams that come out. The crushed reality there does more damage than the suck, so that's probably when you want to press a defensive, is when the boss does its leap. And also if you have the debuff and you're ticking down, you can press a defensive. So the debuff hurts a lot, and you want to make sure that you pass it off accordingly. Buff back to back too close together, it'll actually stack, and that's gonna be very dangerous. So you never want to pass it to the same person 2 times in a row. So you can see over here, this guy has the debuff, and then looks like he passed it to the hunter, and now the hunter's passed it to the druid. You can see the druid actually has 2 stacks right here, which means he took the debuff 2 times really close together. Now I have it. Yeah, if you, on high keys, if you, I don't know what happened to the volume here. That's interesting. I cannot hear the volume. Hey, that's how you guys know these commentaries are legit. See if it kicks back in. But anyways, this fight is scripted. We're gonna fast forward here a bit. Huh. Still don't have any volume. Maybe you guys can hear it on the recording. It looks like the recording is picking up the audio still. Maybe it's just my headset. But anyway, I'm going to keep talking through this anyway for the sake of the commentary. So this 3-pack is pretty easy. You just got to kick the Void Ascendant and then dodge the orbs that come out from it. And then the Crushers are going to leap to your DPS, but that's unavoidable. So if your DPS is low, they should be pressing a defensive just in case they get hopped on. But we're going to kill this pack off, and then we're going to jump down. And this next pull I do here is pretty standard. I'm going to get aggro in this first pack. You probably want to press a defensive if you're a tank while you're gathering this, just because you're going to take a lot of white swings. Get aggro on that next pack, and then go into the big Void Stone. And then you can send all your CDs on this pull, because there's a lot of mobs here. These civilians are going to explode when they die, so just dodge. And then once those civilians are killed off, you can just aggro the next ones here. They don't really do much. They just white swing the tank and explode when they die. But yeah, then the Void Stone is going to do this extraction, which just gives you more circles to dodge. And then there's some AoE that goes out during this. As you can see, the group frames, they're ticking down. So your healer's going to need healing cooldowns for this Void Stone AoE. But yeah, other than that, it's just healing through the AoE and dodging circles on the ground. And that's really all this pack does. Alright. Next pull is this pack over here. There's some Crushers and an Ascendant, so the Crushers are going to jump to your DPS, and the Ascendant's going to do a cast. This is the exact same pack as upstairs right before we jump down, except there's like a couple extra civilians here. yes, you want to dodge the orbs coming out of the Ascendant, kick the cast, and then your DPS are going to get leaped on by the Crushers, and they might need to press a defensive. So the thing about these Crushers, though, as you can see, is like the tank takes stacks here, and if these stacks ever get too high, you're going to be taking a ton of damage. So I need to kite away and let these drop, so now they drop them good. But if you ever get really high stacks like that, just kite a little bit till they fall off as a tank. So this pack, literally the same again. There's the Caster Ascendant that's also going to shoot out the orbs eventually, and then that's it. So because there's just this caster here, you can go ahead and chain the other pack. I'm waiting for the orbs to go out. So I'm going to change the other pack. On higher keys, you could probably just do 2 packs at once because your group's going to be good enough to not die to the orbs. So as you can see, I'm probably going to be getting stacks here in a second as these Crushers melee me, but because I'm not really near them, I'm not getting any stacks. But you can see I have 7, 8 stacks. I'm probably going to start taking some damage here if you check my health. I got a big absorb up though, so yeah, I'm starting to take some. These can get out of control at like 20 plus. You're probably going to need to leap away or kite. Make sure you don't get like hit at a 20 plus stack. But yeah, I'm going to fast forward because this pull is pretty much the same. This next pull is, you know, mobs that we've already seen. It's the caster with the orbs and then the void stone that does the AoE and circles you have to dodge eventually. So probably gonna skip this a bit, and then I'll talk about this boss right before we start it. So the formation you want on this boss is 2 on the left, healer in the middle, and 2 on the right. You could probably do like left corner, middle corner, and right. This is because you want everyone spaced out so that they can soak the pillars that spawn. There's going to be 2 to 3 pillars that spawn periodically throughout this fight, and other players are going to get targeted with circles, and they need to soak them. So if everyone's on one side and they spawn on the other side, you're not going to get to them in time. And if you ever miss soaking a pillar, it's basically a wipe, because then there's going to be an ad that spawns that does pulsing AoE, and it's just a mess. So that's why you want to stay spread on this fight. And your healer's always in the middle so that they can reach everybody with healing. But other than that mechanic that I just explained, I think someone pulled the boss before I was ready. But there's that tank frontal there. You can actually leap out of the way every 2nd or 3rd cast as a warrior. The other ones you just have to take. So this one I'm just going to take here. I actually don't even know if I leap at all in this fight because I wasn't thinking of it, but you definitely can. You can kind of back up a little bit to these train tracks and either sidestep out of the way or leap out of the way. If you can't do that for whatever reason, you can just press a defensive and take it. It doesn't hurt too much. So it's okay to face tank those frontals a little bit. But yeah, as a tank, that's all that there really is to this fight, is just either pressing defensive on the frontal or dodging out of the way. Your healer's going to have to worry about dispelling debuffs that go out on the group. And then the DPS are going to have to soak those pillars I talked about. But one other thing I wanted to mention as a Prot warrior is when the boss gets to the burn phase, like you've killed the absorb shield and it goes into this phase where it's just kind of sitting here stagnant, switch in the battle stance, okay? That's what this icon is for 3% crit, because this is kind of similar to the first boss, Mists of Tyrna Scythe, where you want to burn as much as possible, and this is like your window to do big damage and get the boss health low. So you can switch to the battle stance as a Prot warrior during this phase just for a little bit extra damage. So I want to see my Hunter might pop CDs here. Yeah, so Hunter pops his big 2-minute because we're still within the burn phase here. Druid sent their 2-minute. So a good range here is about 60%. You're probably going to get 3 of these burn phases every fight. You don't really want to get 4. If you get 4 burn phases, you're probably not doing enough DPS. On a high key, you're probably not going to time the key if you get a 4th burn phase, so it's kind of one of those DPS checks this season. You kind of want to get to like 60-65% first burn phase, then 2nd is like 30, and then the 3rd burn phase you would want to finish the boss off. But we're already at the second burn phase here, so the boss is going to go stagnant in a second. There we go. Now we're going to start burning the boss. I've switched to battle stance again, and the fight just repeats, right? So either dodge the tank frontal or press a defensive. The healer's going to dispel the groups when they get the magic debuffs, and then the rest of the group's going to soak the pillars with the circles when they come out. And that's the fight. So I think, yeah. So we're going to get one more burn phase here in a second. Boom. So yeah, I think this is probably our last burn phase, as we're surely going to finish the boss off. So, yeah, if you look at the timer at the bottom, which hopefully I can show you in a second if I can get this. Yeah, we kill this boss in like 3 minutes, which is a super, super good time on this boss. I've seen this boss take 5 minutes on high keys if teams get a 4th burn phase accidentally, but yeah, there's 13 Rookery, you guys. Hopefully you enjoyed it. Subscribe if you like this content. If you like these commentaries, I'm going to continue doing Prot Warrior gameplay and commentary, and the occasional WoW discussion. And leave a like if you enjoyed it. See you guys in the next time.